Good day, my friends. Welcome to today's lesson where we're going to be learning how to hear intervals, how to hear chords, how to have a better association with melody. And we're going to incorporate all of these things of learning into one simple exercise that is really fun, and it's a great way to play music while you're practicing. You know, this is one thing that has been super helpful for me, is to learn how to play music while practicing rather than just random, exercises and things like that. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to show you how to do all this. But I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you 3 different sounds over one drone. This is a drone in C, and here's a C major sound. See what this sounds like. Right, there's C major. Okay, here's a C minor sound. C minor. Here's like kind of like a Phrygian maybe kind of thing. Okay, how do we put all this together? I'm going to give you the perfect way to practice this, and it starts with the chromatic scale. What's the chromatic scale? Chromatic scale uses every single note. So let's do this together. And by the way, I just pulled up a drone on YouTube. So the way you practice this is pull up a C drone on YouTube and play along with it. Now we're going to play this scale, which we're going to use one string, one single finger. And this is going to teach us a lot. You're going to take C, which is on the 1st fret of the B string, and you're going to go all the way to C on the 13th fret of the B string. There's 12 notes in music, so when you get to the 13th fret, well, you're going to be back to the 1st note. So take that 1st note, and then you're going to play every fret along the way, all the way back to C. Now let's hear this. We're going to learn the intervals. This interval is the home bass, it's the tonic, it's the root, however you want to call that. The root note. This is also the root note, 1 octave up. So there's all these notes in between, but there's actually not that many. And we're going to learn the names of them and the sounds of them. So let's start by going up them without even naming them. Just listen to the notes over the drone and play along with me. Root. Sounds resolved. We're going to go to... This is called the minor second, or the Jaws interval. The reason it's the Jaws interval because it sounds like Jaws. A lot of tension there, right? Wherever there's tension, there is resolve in one direction or the other. So if there's tension here, you can resolve it 1 fret up or 1 fret down. Right? Tension there, will resolve there. That is called the major second. So we've got the root, the minor second, which sounds dark, right? That has that minor sound. Oh, it's so dark and scary. And then you have the major second, which is more soothing sounding, right? The major intervals have a soothing sound. Those are both 2 variations of the second note in the scale. So you have the 1st note in the scale, you have the 2nd note in the scale, there's a minor version, which is dark, and there's a major version, which is light. Now you go to the 3rd note in the scale, you have a minor version, minor's always 1st, there's the minor 3rd, here's the major 3rd, has that light sound. Then you move to the 4th note in the scale, then you move to the sharp 4 or the flat 5. Has a lot of tension to it. Then you have the 5, which is very balanced. It's a nice balanced sound. Then you have the minor 6, which has that kind of, that minor German sound or something like that. Then you have the major 6, which is a pretty sound. They're all pretty in their own way, right? Then you have the minor 7. Get used to the sound against the drone. Minor 7. Right? Hang on that note. Feel it. Then you have the major 7. You can practice using your pick to play loud and quiet. This is music. You're back to the root. Okay? So there's all of our intervals. Think of all of those intervals like a slab of stone. And think of like a stone artist, I don't know what they call that chips away at the stone, a sculptor. Chips away at the stone, and I can't remember who said this, but it was like the piece of art, the statue, is already there. You just have to take away what you don't want, what's not part of the final picture. The chromatic scale's like that. That's the whole stone. So what can we take away? And we're going to do a couple things here. Number 1, we'll start with the major scale. So the major scale just uses all the major intervals. So let's look at those. We got the root, major 2nd, which is a whole step up, whole step, major 3rd, which is a whole step, the 4th, which isn't major or minor. I'll talk about that another time. It's just, they call it a perfect 4th. So we got the root, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, 5th, which is perfect again, and then we have the major 6, major 7, and the root. Learn that scale and play around with it. You can make melodies. So much. Right? Lots you can do with that. So that's the major scale. You could set a timer, do an hourglass for 15 minutes and say, I'm just going to work on the major scale sound and explore it. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to explore that by exploring chord tones. Ooh, this is good stuff. So if we are in the key of C major, we're listening to the C drone. It's just playing one C note. You start to think, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. There's 7 notes in that major scale. Well, when you think of a C major chord, that chord is going to be based on a triad. Okay, what's a triad? A triad is the root, 3rd, and 5th of the scale. So easy. The root is note 1. The 3rd is note 3. 1, 2, 3. Just count. You know how to count. Root, 3rd, and 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just counting to those notes, right? All on one string. That root, 3rd, and 5th are going to be the places where you can resolve. So music's all about tension and release. Tension and resolve. Life's all about that too. And so music can teach us a lot about how to resolve things and how to, build things up and make them interesting. That's what life is all about. So we learn about this through music. So that root, 3rd, and 5th are places where you can resolve, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. And this is something you should explore with your hourglass and your drone. Play the drone. This spot right here is resolved. It's happy, it's home. Okay? The only begotten Son travels away from home. Right? There's a little distance, a little dissonance. Then it returns home, and it can return home by going back to the root. Right? Resolved. Little trip away from home. Trip back home. Feels good. Anytime you go here, it makes going back here feel that much better. So explore that. The longer you hold this, the better it feels to do this. Make sense? You can also resolve that 2, 1, 2, to the third. Oh, that's a nice resolve, right? Resolve it to the third. Take the 2, resolve it to the 1. Nice. Take the 2, resolve it to the 3. Nice. Take just those 3 notes. See how many things you can come up with just those 3 notes. Right, you can do lots of things to make music. Just 3 notes. You just play. Now we're going to move to the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Unresolved. Keep hanging on that 4. You can resolve that 4 back to the 3. You can take that 4 and you can resolve it to the 5. Right? Root, 3rd, 5th. Resolve points. Any note you can resolve to 1, 3, and 5. Any note. Let's go to the 6. Take that 6, resolve it to the 5. It's a nice melody. Right. Take that 6. Now we're going to move to the major 7, which is one of my favorite sounds. And take that major 7, resolve it back to the root. Okay, you've got all these sounds to play with. You just play. You hold the dissonance. Don't be afraid of dissonance. Just resolve it when you want. Let's say you hit a wrong note. Whoops! Don't be afraid of it. Use it. Make music with it. There's no such thing as a wrong note. All of these are right. Doesn't matter. Right, you can take that. You can just resolve it. It's even fun to hang on it. Think like you're making a movie score. What sound do you want? What's happening in the movie? You're making a movie. Okay, so that's the root, 3rd, 5th, with everything in between you can kind of just play with. You can use the chromatic scale, which is every single note. Just explore them. Another great thing to do is practice. And any one of these little things I'm telling you, do a 15-minute hourglass session on it. Maybe a bunch. You know, use that as your practice session for the day or for the week. But just a couple more things to leave you with here before we finish is you can practice naming each of the intervals so you know what the sound is. So we got root, minor 3rd, root, minor 2nd, major 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, perfect 4th. This one has a lot of names. It can be the sharp 4, the augmented 4, the flat 5, the diminished 5. We'll talk about all those later, but just call it whatever. Let's call it the sharp 4. And then the 5, perfect 5th is called minor 6, major 6, minor 7, major 7, root. So there's only 7 notes. The 2 and 3 have a minor and major version. The 6 and 7 have a major and minor version. The 5 and 4, your here's the 4, just has that sharp 4 in between. Everything else has a minor and major version, right? So, you know, you can play the major scale by just playing the major intervals. You can play a minor scale by playing all the minor intervals except for the second. You play major still. Right? Root, major second, minor third, 4th, 5th, minor 6, minor 7, root. Let me just play the minor intervals except for on that second one you still play major. When you're playing a minor scale, I know that's a little confusing, but it's fine. It's just that one note. You still play the major interval there. You start with these 3. C minor sound. So you can see how you can practice these different ideas, you know, just with a drone. You don't even have to name them necessarily. You can just practice the sounds, and that's really how you get comfortable with the sounds, is by playing them in context with, you know, something. So the drone's really helpful for that. Again, you know, thinking about the chords, the chord root, 3rd, 5th, that's going to be your C major chord. And then the root again, you can just play. Let me just practice the chord, or the arpeggio triad. Right, just practicing on that one string. Then you can take all of these ideas and move them all over the guitar neck. We'll talk about that later, but here's an example. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you get started on some practicing different sounds, intervals, chords, scales, and the like. We'll see you guys in the next video.